Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for tuning into my talk. I'm so excited to be here at Flowtopia. Now, optimizing your flow of value, just like making a successful switch from project to product, really shouldn't be a utopia, right? However, a lot of organizations struggle, and one type in specific is really leading that pack. So over the next 25 minutes, we'll dig into the reasons why bureaucratic organizations fail at moving from project to product. And of course, I will share 3 insights on top of a lot of practical how-tos that will help you to succeed. So I'm Erica. I'm a Team Topologies fellowship practitioner. So that means that I actually have the privilege of working with an incredible group of people to help organizations become more adaptive and more humane. But I also founded the Hive, which is a collective dedicated to supporting organizations in optimizing across their entire socio-technical system. Now, and if that socio-technical system makes you slightly curious, then really stay here because we'll dive into that in a few minutes. Now, this session is being pre-recorded, which is a little bit weird to me because I actually really like to have the interaction with all of you. But I'm live in the chat now, so please share your thoughts and questions there, and I'll be happy to respond. Now, if you have kids, you'll get this. Around the age of 1.5, 2 years old, they get really frustrated and sometimes even aggressive because they start understanding the world around them and they want to interact with it. They want things, definitely also don't want things, but they can't really express themselves. They don't have the words or the vocabulary to say what it is that they need. Now, my wife, she will forever have a bite mark of our son Jack when he was 2 years old on her bum to remind us of the importance of communication. Now, during the last 15 years working in IT companies, and especially my time in open source, actually often awakened that angry toddler in me. We had this amazing technology, but I kept seeing the inability of organizations to start working with this new technology. And it kind of frustrated the hell out of me because I was like, I could feel what was wrong, but I couldn't put words to it. So I found a little bit of comfort in agile practices, but honestly, very often they were just scratching the surface. So 5 years ago, I read 2 books which really gave me the words that I was looking for, and they completely changed my perspective on organizations. Team Topologies and Project to Product. Now, there aren't only mind-blowing books, but they're also very complementary. So I was convinced that with this knowledge and insights being out, that companies would be able to make a significant shift, improving all of the work that they were doing. So I was sitting at the tip of my chair, waiting for the amazing results to come in, the epic shift of organizations thriving on cutting-edge technology. But it didn't happen. So both in the Project to Product report of 2023 and in the Project to Product report of 2024, it states that only 2% of organizations have been able to make a successful shift from project to product. Now, I think that is very disappointing. So are people not reading these books? Are executives still sleeping with their Prince2 manuals or ETL manuals on their bedside table? I mean, what is going on? And it actually starts to become a similar trend to what we've seen before, right? Reorganizations and business transformations failing. Gartner says that digital transformations are even worse, and 67% of digital investments actually underperform on expectations. So many organizations try to change, try to be adaptive, but they are clearly not succeeding. Now, moving from project to product will actually catapult organizations into a world which will push them to constantly adapt. Because unlike projects, we're not building products with an end date or an end state in mind. We're building them for the future. And unless you're clairvoyant, you have no clue what that future looks like. So let's start by looking at how organizations today then respond to change. So whenever they feel pressure to change, being disrupted by a competitor, new technology, new generation X, Y, or Z that they don't understand, what do? They either freeze, let's pretend nothing happened, just stick to our 3-year plan, or even worse, go back to old ways of doing, or they just burn down the entire organization. They gather leadership, lock them up in a boardroom or in Bahamas, kind of depends on how much money there's still left in the bank, and they start redesigning the entire organization. The thing is, nobody learned anything. You're taking the same people and the same processes with you. So it's just a matter of time before you need to do it all over again. And on top of that, you will have lost a lot of time, money, energy, and I'm definitely sure that you've lost a lot of people. Another way, more careful way, is to do smaller, fragmented optimizations. For example, unmet sprint goals, just throw more people at it. We need this new core solution built really fast. We'll just outsource the development and then afterwards our teams will run it. Yeah, but our teams just really need to collaborate better. Send them on a team building or do a communication training. You've all known how this works, right? And these short-term band-aids, they aren't really helpful. In fact, they often cause a lot more problems along the way. And it's because we try to break down really complex problems into little complicated pieces so that we think that we can control them. But that's an illusion. Each small change in a complex system, which our organizations are, has a lot of big consequences. And especially moving from project to product is already very complex in itself and can definitely not be approached as a fragmented or local optimization. You can't just set up a product team and assume that they can build adaptive and sustainable products in an organization which isn't able to adapt. Now, a key insight that can help us understand the complex nature of organizations is the socio-technical system. So you have a social side, which holds the structure and the people, and a technical side, which is the system and the work itself. Now, every organization holds these 4 elements. And whenever change is needed, for example, a new technology, building a new product, changing the structure or a department, you have the tendency to focus on one of the elements in the socio-technical system. Well, the truth is, they all impact each other. Let me explain with a common example, something that especially organizations who want to move towards a product focus will think is very important: using cloud technology. Because one of the biggest benefits of cloud is getting value to customers really fast, having really short feedback loops, and having the ability to instantly adapt. Now, right, let's see what happens in many bureaucratic organizations today. At first, it goes well, looking at cloud technology, choosing the provider, the platform, tools, architecture, maybe some security. But then we run into issues because the structure has silos. Now, if you want to have speed of development, you will need to solve the handoffs and dependencies caused by these silos. Now, then people will need to start to learn how to work with that new cloud platform. This will increase the cognitive load of your teams. Cognitive load is the mental capacity a team has to perform its tasks. Now, if you want your apps to be adaptive, scalable, and at the same time control costs, you want to look at cloud-native development. But that, of course, will again increase the cognitive load on the people. Now, teams taking full ownership also means that their way of working needs to change. So look at DevOps, shifting left, again, increasing the cognitive load of your teams. And products who are built for cloud, they require specific software architecture, which requires changes in enterprise architecture because you don't want to hit Conway's law. So just bringing in new technology It has so many consequences, and they aren't just one-off or one-directional. They actually keep impacting each other constantly. It's a perpetual trigger of change which never stops. So, if we want to keep our flow flowing and our products alive, we need to move away from often radical and impulsive reactions to change, and we need to move to a more holistic approach, understanding our socio-technical system. And we definitely want to stop assuming that we can predict and control change and start embracing unpredictability. So yay, we fixed it! We just need to understand the socio-technical system and will be adaptive. Well, by now, you should know that there are no silver bullets or quick fixes, because understanding the socio-technical system, being comfortable with the unpredictable nature of your organization, still kind of requires something else. I hear you think. Just change your mindset, right? Well, the thing is, you actually can't change mindset, because if you want people to think differently, they need to be able to behave differently. And if you want people to behave differently, they need to have an environment which allows them to behave differently. Let me give you an example. New Year's resolutions, right? Everyone will start making them in a few weeks. And the most favorite one is being more healthy, right? Healthier habits. Well, the thing is, some people think that it's just about shifting your mindset, but it's not. You need to go to the store and buy sport shoes or sport gear. You need to get that fitness subscription. You need to go to the store and buy healthy food so that your fridge is stacked with healthy food. And very importantly, the people that you live with, people in your environment, your friends, they need to be supportive of that new healthy lifestyle. And if you then keep that up and you have that environment that encourages you to be healthier, then maybe ultimately after a while, your mindset will shift. So just changing your mindset won't happen if your environment stays the same. So no, we are not talking about making the environment look like a Google Office space. Might be fun, but really doesn't guarantee the environment in which great products can be built. No, I'm actually talking about Team Topologies. Team Topologies enables you to hold an environment in which change can emerge. An environment that is more adaptive, more humane, and more effective, and that really allows for fast flow of value. I know it's not a framework and it's not a methodology. You don't roll it out, you don't implement it, and it's definitely not for the happy few at the top. Team Topologies is actually vocabulary and practices, and they work best if everyone in the organization starts using them. Ultimately, Team Topologies will enable organizations to move from those rigid operating models to organizational dynamics. Now, the wording itself already suggests movement and adaptability. We actually want people to be able to sense when change is needed. Then they need to have the vocabulary to share it, and they need the practices to solve it. Let's have a look at what a team or a team of teams needs in order to build great products. First, we need, of course, to have a stable team which can take end-to-end responsibility over the value that they are delivering. This means no handoffs or blocking dependencies, having the ability to quickly respond and act upon customer feedback, and ultimately have the ability to also take ownership over the financial aspects related to that product. So first, let's start with the scenario of how value flows through bureaucratic organizations. We often see many silos, teams which are built around having the same skills or capabilities, and very often even more explicit separation still between business and IT. So in this case, marketing has an idea. The handover to product management or project management, if you haven't renamed it yet, who then hands over to architecture, Sometimes here first going back to product management before going into development. And here we just assume that it's one development team, while very often several development teams are depending on each other to deliver one product or service at the same time, simultaneously. But then often those development teams, they lack a lot of information, or they can't work with user stories or the architecture that was provided to them. So it goes back to product management. Then ultimately it goes to test. Don't even get me started on how many loops that we can draw here. And then it goes to ops. Again, let's stick to the happy scenario where it ultimately reaches the customer, we think. Now, all those handovers and dependencies, they will cause a lot of time spent waiting. And this picture still isn't complete. It's still lacking something. Because in many bureaucratic organizations, we still have gating approvals. Again, more time spent waiting. On average, a team in this setting spends 80% of time waiting and only 20% of time actually working. I hear you say that's no problem. They just take the next item from the backlog, right? Well, this context switching actually causes an insane amount of cognitive load, causes lack of focus, and ultimately leads to poor quality. Now, ultimately, in this case, the lead time does not become hours, days, or weeks. It becomes months and sometimes, and I've seen this happen, years. Now, knowing that also 30% of the feature requests get canceled along the way, that is leading really to a massive amount of time and value wasted. Now, I hope that you can see that this environment is far from enabling end-to-end responsibility and definitely not supportive for building adaptive products. So what then does good look like? Well, Team Topologies is built around the concept of having a streamlined team, which can take end-to-end stewardship over the value that they are delivering. So this means having all the capabilities needed to deliver that value in one team of 5 to 9 people. Now, first thing I want to clarify is that capabilities is not the same as roles or functions. Here we are talking about cross-functional teams, which often have many more capabilities than people. And yes, of course, multiple streamlined teams might be needed in order to deliver one product or service. And this is totally fine, as long as those streamlined teams have clear bounded context. So that means no handoffs, no blocking dependencies. But let's keep it simple for now. There are many capabilities required in one streamlined team, and that might just blow the cognitive load of that team. So this is where Team Topologies brings in 3 other team types, which will enable fast flow and a manageable cognitive load for those streamlined teams. First, let's introduce platform groupings. Now, this team type offers things as a service to the streamlined teams. That means that those teams can self-service on those platforms. Oh, and a platform is not a system. Cloud, SAP, Office 365, not platforms. They are systems. A platform is the self-service layer which supports the streamlined teams in actually simplifying their work. And as you can see, a platform group is fractal in nature, which means that within this group, you can find all kinds of different teams, just like I'm demonstrating here. But with new capabilities required within the streamlined team, you can imagine that not everything can be served via a platform. Some things really require skills and knowledge. Now, these possible knowledge gaps are spotted by enabling teams. Thinking about moving from project to product, we can, for example, imagine that product management is a new capability. And you might want to have an enabling team to upskill the streamline team in, for example, how to build roadmaps, do product strategy, and make investment decisions based on the cost and revenue of their product. So yes, product management is not a role or function outside of the streamline teams. It's a capability within the streamline team. And if really needed, you can also think about the complicated subsystem team to cover really complex needs. Now, this team type is definitely not required, but certain capabilities might be so specialized or expensive that you might need such a team, preferably temporary, supporting your streamline teams. Now, as we said, everything here is constantly changing. The streamline team needs to be aware of their cognitive load and constantly look at optimizing the flow of value. So when customer demands change, new technology is being available, or new capabilities are required, then everything in that socio-technical system starts to move. So if a streamline team senses that change is needed, they need to be able to share it. And this is really the power of Team Topologies. It's creating a shared vocabulary. Now, remember how we talked about how a lack of vocabulary can come back and bite you in the... Speaking the same language and therefore creating a shared understanding of your environment really shortens the time explaining, might even make meetings shorter. How cool would that be? So apart from the team types and interaction modes, we look at our organization through two lenses: optimizing fast flow of value and managing team cognitive load. Now, and in order to sense when change is needed, we need to be able to spot awkward interactions. They indicate where teams aren't working together effectively. And of course, we need to keep in mind Conway's law, because a fragmentation in structure causes a fragmentation in design, which leads to a fragmentation in user experience. Now, this is very important if you want to build great products and services. So great, we have an environment in which we can sense when change is needed. We have the vocabulary to share it. Now we need to have the practices to solve it. And this is where Team Topology perfectly aligns with what value stream management prescribes, which is making work visible. In most organizations I've worked with, this is really highly underestimated. People still have the tendency to sit together and then emotionally and subjectively try to make decisions based on what they believe that work should look like. Now, we believe that if you want to create an environment in which change can emerge, you need to make the work visible in a very objective way. So bring together people from all corners of your organization, gather different perspectives, and objectively talk about the facts that you see appearing before you. So let me guide you through some of those practices, which are highly useful when building products, by showing how we use them during a Team Topologies engagement with Syngenta. Now, everyone knows that pushing down big changes on a Monday morning, 9 a.m. isn't the most effective way to, bring in change. So you kind of want to figure out where to start. You might still have doubts about what your value streams are or your products. Does your entire organization need to become product driven? Oh, no. And do all teams now need to be knowledgeable about Team Topologies? No, of course not. You need to find a sweet spot. Now, DDD can enable you to get clear idea over your domains, which are core, which are supporting, which are generic. It can help you decide on where you can have a manageable risk and the possible benefits of change are really high. Wardley mapping can help you make really strategic decisions, see where things you once custom built and were really differentiating you now actually move to commodity and could be bought off the shelf. This will also show you where there might be new opportunities for innovation. If you want to know more, listen to Suzanne Kaiser. She has really good insights in how to tie domain-driven design, Wardley mapping, and Team Topologies together. Now, Syngenta already defined their products, but they were struggling with creating better ownership over those products and with increasing their flow of value. So they uncovered that they actually needed to look at the platforms supporting their streamlined teams and move them to platforms as a product. One of the most successful factors to really ensure that teams can take end-to-end ownership is having the right boundaries. So you need to define bounded contexts for your teams. Now, many organizations visualize their value streams inside out with, like, for example, value stream mapping or event storming, which are highly valuable. But one of the great practices of the last years actually comes from Rich Allen and is called user needs mapping. It enables you to visualize from the user perspective, so from the outside in. You can see that it here kind of looks like a big ball of mud with teams having responsibilities all over the place. And then here you can see how they start finding bounded context, boundaries around the streamlined teams and the platform teams. And then you move to independent service heuristics. They can help you validate those bounded contexts with answering questions like, does it really make sense? And is it feasible that this service can stand on its own and can be fully delivered by a single team of 5 to 9 people? And then there is team interaction modeling that can help you find team evolution states, which are needed to evolve from your current state to a desired state, because we are not building new operating models here. We're trying to evolve continuously with small steps, iteratively. So if we want to keep our flow flowing and our products alive, we really need to tear down those silos and those rigid structures and look at how we can create an environment in which we can have organizational dynamics, which will enable us to adapt. And we need to stop obsessing over processes and instead start visualizing and improving our flow of value. So yay, now we really fixed it. Understanding the socio-technical system to really get comfortable with unpredictability, and team topologies, creating an environment in which change can emerge. Right. But what about the people? Will they be empowered to take decisions? Will their input be appreciated? And do they feel safe to take risks? Well, trusting your people is the most powerful prerequisite for adaptive organizations and for building great products. When teams are able to really own the work, to have stewardship over the products that they build and can make their own decisions when needed, then products can evolve and adapt rapidly. But there is no use in buying awesome technology like cloud, for example, to get fast feedback if you don't allow your people to learn from that feedback and respond to it. And successful products, they need to evolve. So innovation needs to become part of the daily work. Now, innovation requires for people to take risks. And you can only take risks if there is trust and a safe space. Now, here I need to point to Amy Edmondson, because her insights into the benefits of a safe space at work are crucial for any organization, but especially for those moving from project to product. So if we want to keep our flow flowing and our products alive, we need to start trusting our people and get rid of those gating procedures. People who do the work need to own the work. So in order to become an adaptive organization in which you can build sustainable products, you need to really get comfortable with unpredictability. And there are 3 things that I want you to remember. First, understand and take into account your socio-technical system. Build an environment in which change can emerge using team topologies. And the third, honestly, trusting your people and holding a safe space is something that every organization should do. Now, that we fix it? I don't know. We can only know if enough organizations give it a try. So I want to encourage you to make a difference in the future and start putting these insights into practice. Let me know what works, what doesn't work, and I would love to exchange thoughts with you on this. And of course, reach out to me if you would love some help with becoming one of the organizations presenting here on this spot next year about how you shifted from utopia to improving your flow of value and building great products. Now, because this talk is kind of like a product too, I would really appreciate your feedback. So scan the QR code or reach out to me via LinkedIn. I'd love to hear what you think. I hope that you also enjoy the other talks at Flowtopia, that they leave you really inspired and empowered. And I want to thank you for your time and your engagement during this talk. Thank you very much. Bye.